Okay, we're going to get started. Compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law. I wish to state that on September 5th, 2014, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township Bulletin Board, mailed to the Cape County Gazette, the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel, Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed by the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being video recorded up until the closed session portion of this meeting and will be available on UTTV Channel 97 and on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct that this announcement made a part of the minutes of this meeting. I'm going to ask all to rise for the salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Barbara, would you call the roll, please?
Here. Mr. Coggins?
Here.
Mr. Vincera? Here. Mr. Young?
Here.
Mayor Plumbo?
Here.
All members are present.
Okay. So, would someone like to make approval of the minutes from August the 25th, both the regular and closed session minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes. Second.
Is there any corrections, deletions, omissions that anyone's aware of? Hearing none. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Vincera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Barbara, do you have anything for us this evening?
I just have one item. I'd like to request permission to register 17 individuals for the New Jersey League of Municipalities convention in November at a cost of $55 per registration.
Okay, and have any of the committee folks put in their names too?
Yes, yes, they have.
Anybody else have interest?
Yes.
John, you have any interest in that?
Yes, I'd like to spend some time.
Do you have his name too?
Yes, and I have included the committee.
Okay. All right, so would someone like to make a motion to approve that?
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Vincera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Thank you very much. That's all I have this evening.
We're not going to have all, I know it's on 17 because we take 5 of us, but we're not going to have all 12 people at the same time, that's right? Like,
No.
we're going to stagger it?
We'll stagger those.
Okay. Daniel?
Nothing at this time, but we do have 4 contract negotiation matters and a personnel issue for closed session.
Okay. Paul?
Thank you. I have 2 items. First, I'm getting close to finalizing some of the design project for the reconstruction of Bayview Drive over in Strathmere, and I'm going to be going out and doing some preliminary layout just to see, because we are looking at raising the road in spots, so I may be putting some marks out on the road, so you may get some calls about, you know, to the degree that we're raising the road, and I'm just trying to get a more physical feel of the impact to the adjacent property owners, make sure we're not going to trap water as we raise the road to try to prevent or decrease the amount of road flooding out there. So I just wanted to give you a heads up about that. Second, myself and OEM Director Scott Morgan were out on Friday over in Strathmere with the Jacques Cousteau Natural Resource Center and some professors from Rutgers to look at some coastal resiliency aspects that we may be able to do over in Strathmere, looking at back bay flooding and coastal erosion, as well as starting to implement a resiliency study for our hazard mitigation. So that was the first meeting in that process. So that we look forward to partnering with those organizations to help look at future hazard mitigation projects that we may be able to get funding for. And that's all I had.
Okay, and I also want to point out that we received a nice letter from Ms. Lynn Fader from Strathmere, thanking the Township Committee, but more importantly, thanking you, Paul, for your diligence in working as the CRS coordinator and allowing the homeowners in Strathmere, and I guess it would also hold true for the like it's for all of Upper Township, right?
Yes.
To receive a discount on their policy on flood insurance by 20%, and for many folks that's anywhere between $500, well, it's at least $500 on a $2,500 premium. So it's a nice letter and good job. We appreciate your help, and I know that we are looking for potentially doing more as we go through some of the other projects that you're working with OEM Scott Director, right? Scott Morgan, Director of OEM.
Yes, and I think, it's really important to look at the CRS credit that the township does receive, that those are, I guess not savings to our budget, but they are real savings that the taxpayers see to not have to pay out on a yearly flood insurance premium, that those are real significant dollars in those savings, and it's something that you guys don't always see, but, because the residents don't call and tell you, and, it's kind of different when I give you the report, oh yeah, we're saving this much money.
But
as a resident.
part of receiving that is mitigation things we put in place for flooding, and how do we handle, emergency situations and everything like that, right? So, I mean, in many ways, there's overlap as to what's being accomplished here.
And that's one of the items on our agenda this evening is, discussing our annual report and recertification for CRS. That just kind of highlights the different items, and we'll see that a little bit later tonight.
Okay?
Do we have an idea as far as what the average premium is?
I don't have a number for the average premium. I do know that with our Class 6 rating, flood insurance premiums, if you're not, as long as you're a conforming structure within the NFIP guidelines, they get a 20% discount. And that 20% discount results into about $120,000 discount that the homeowners in the Upper Township receive that they don't have to pay for flood insurance. So it's real dollars for them.
Yeah, because by an act of Congress, they have actually delayed the accelerated increase premiums that originally came out post Hurricane Sandy. So now through efforts from Congressman Lobiando and many others, legislators in New Jersey, that was passed in Congress and it's delayed, and it's over now, regimented 10-year period?
I think it's a 10-year period.
Versus what they, originally it was supposed to be 4 years, 25% increase each of the next 4 years, so.
And those increases will actually be effectuated when the new flood maps are approved. They've actually just released I'll say the preliminary flood maps to make them fully draft maps at this point, and they're, between now and October, we'll begin the public comment period, which will last probably into the spring, and they would anticipate fully adopting those maps probably this time next year, and then that's when that 10-year rolling period starts to occur for most flood insurance premium policies, unless you've had a lapse in your policy and you're a second homeowner.
Okay, any other questions for Paul?
No, that's all I have. Thank you.
Barbara?
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Coggins?
I noticed on our agenda tonight, we're talking about certification for abatement costs for nuisance properties. Consequently, I've noticed very recently some of our neighboring communities have implemented a fee for vacant properties that's charged to the banks and probably collected in a way of a lien in some of these foreclosure homes when they're sold. I would just like to ask the committee that perhaps we put that on our agenda to discuss next meeting for new business, and perhaps Mr. Young could brief us on the topic, what the pros and cons are, and whether or not that would be something that would be beneficial for our community.
We have in the past done liens on some properties that have really had some major,
we need to, registering a vacant property, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's now supposedly some new legislation in the state of New Jersey.
There was it was in, I don't know where you picked it up at, but there's two statutes that were adopted, if you're talking about these two. One was in the spring and one was in the summer. It's like a municipal court violation if the property isn't maintained, and if there's a foreclosing mortgagee, you can go after that bank and cite them as well as citing the owner, if that's the legislation you're talking about.
It's not. Actually, the most recent community to pass it is Woodbine. They passed it in their last committee meeting. And what the town does is, for a vacant foreclosed property, the town charges the bank or the mortgage holder a $500 registration fee year one, which is up to a $1,000 registration fee year 2 and a $1,500 registration fee year 3 and beyond. Now, what this seems to do is this motivates some of these foreclosure agencies to move a little bit faster on the paperwork to get these places off their books, get them sold, get them filled. So it's, again, I'm not entirely...
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. I'd have to find out what statutory basis they operated under, and we can put it on an agenda, and I'll have a report for you.
Because we're seeing more and more of these foreclosures come up, on a monthly basis, so it might be worth looking into.
Okay?
I'll take a look at it. We can put it on the agenda.
I don't think it's...
Okay. Mr. Young?
Yeah, we have a few things with recreation. One thing, Walter, baseball teams are coming in on October the 14th. Was that the date for the resolutions?
Yes, or, yeah.
The two
right now.
championship teams?
It's been tentatively scheduled.
Okay. What I'd like to do, we talked about doing a parade of championship, and then maybe incorporate that with the October 14th meeting. I talked to Jay, and I talked to Ed Carter today about they think it would work, where we can do something prior to the meeting, pick them up at Codwell or Long Moor somewhere, maybe take the deuce and a half, put them in the back of it, and have the rescue squad and fire trucks parade them down Stagecoach Road to different places, and then wind up here, right before the meeting starting, because they're all going to come here anyway. And then bring them
I'm not
on.
an expert on the deuce and a half, but is it safe to put 8 and 12-year-olds?
Or either 9 and 10, the coaches, I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
I don't know. I know you can't legally ride in the back of a pickup truck, so wouldn't this be kind of the same thing?
Yeah, I don't know, that's why.
Yeah, I'm just, we'd have to talk to our insurance folks and make sure that right. I hate to put a kibosh on it, but it'd be very nice, maybe we get some people with
That's why I brought it up, like, if it's not, if we can't do that, then I have to...
convertibles or something like that,
I have to ask your parents or somebody to, pick up the kids and run with them, so. I just want to get the committee's feelings, whether they think it's a good idea, since they're going to be here anyway, and
Yeah, it's a great idea, but again, we have to look at
the liability.
building.
Yeah. Dan, can you look at that for me, and then let me know?
Yeah, I'll look into it. Yeah, I know when they do things like this in other towns, it's usually in warm weather, but they'll have convertibles and things like that, that, yeah, obviously the kids can legally sit in them.
Yeah, the parade's a great idea, but I agree, we better be careful.
Yeah. And the deuce and a half has benches in it so they can sit. I mean, that's,
Right.
they transport military, but that's why I wasn't sure. So if you could find that out.
I'll try and find it out.
Because it's like 5 weeks to put it together, so we had to.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing, I was talking to one of the soccer coaches from girls soccer the other day, and he's going to forward me the information. One of our spring girls soccer teams finished first in the state, which comprised of like a Premier League, and they were first out of 66 teams. Kind of raises a dilemma where we're going to draw the lines with bringing people in for resolutions. Now, I have people calling me, well, our kids won their league championship. To me, that doesn't require us to do a resolution for them. If they go beyond their league, but it seems the question's going to come up, and I think we need to get a point of clarity as far as what kids we're going to bring in and honor at what level, so that it eliminates any confusion. So that's something for discussion later. Again, it doesn't have to be tonight, but I think we need to think about that.
Is it's a policy you're looking for just for sports programs?
Just for sports programs.
Maybe it might be right to ask the Sports and Advisory Committee to come up with guidelines for recognition of awards.
Yeah, and like these girls, this was a travel team, they played Cape Express and all the other top teams in.
Is it just Upper Township, or they have mix of players?
I think it was all Township kids.
All right.
We basically want to know where to draw a line, if it is a line.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
yeah.
how do you do that?
Maybe there's some points where we need to do a resolution honoring the whole program, but only do one resolution, and just have the coaches come in and be presented.
Well,
Well, I honestly...
just as a history, we've always given resolutions out to anybody who's won.
Nitpicking, I mean, listen, it's been an incredibly successful year, probably the most successful year from sports that, I mean, in all the years that I've been on this township committee, so, it's nice to recognize the kids, and so, I think I would be more cautious in trying to let people not be involved with it, I mean, so, it just, listen, it's good to talk to the kids, it's good for them to come in and see what we do here as well, so I look at it beyond getting the recognition, I also get a little bit of an education what goes on here, so.
No, that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, I don't think we should go online, I think we should go online.
Again, if somebody wins the Upper Township in-house league, I don't think that warrants.
Well, I don't know that anybody's really ever asked us for that. I mean,
Yeah, well, I've had a couple of people say.
but, I mean, we've done things for, Knights of Columbus with the free throw things, we've done, traveling teams, we've done, well, now we got, baseball, we're gonna, tonight, there's a resolution honoring, Kevin Gill for being South Jersey champion swimming, for lifeguards, which, I mean, that's a big thing, so.
We don't have guidelines, but it's always been outside of, when it's a
Yeah.
championship or victory outside of Upper Township. In other words, an Upper Township team. Yeah, in internal rec programs, we've never really, in my tenure, we've never recognized anybody.
That's why I'm just making sure, because I had a couple phone calls that asked me, if you're gonna honor these champions, why aren't we honoring these champions?
'Cause you can't.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, you would have a tremendous number of,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you'd be here all night.
And also it takes away from what the other kids did. I think we need to really accentuate that,
Right, now,
that
you
you
want to-
But you know what,
They need to work harder to get to the next level.
But I think bringing it to the Sports Advisory Committee could also be, okay, so if the committee as a whole is recognizing, teams that are competing and winning things, outside of the township, maybe there's a way that you can work out that they're still being recognized by the committee in some local, as the season ends and whoever wins, something can be given to the kids then or something. That's something you could probably work out.
That's fine. We did send a letter out to all coordinators of all sports. I asked Barb to draft it, and we're demanding or requiring them to have someone at all advisory meetings. Last week, we had 3 people there, and we have issues coming up that, it takes more than 3 weeks to schedule a program and make sure we have the fields where they're supposed to be. It seems a lot of programs will only show up when we're starting to enter their part of the season. And it's not good practice. You can't have goals set for any sport, really. I know that we just had a situation where different coordinators from soccer called Dwayne, I need 3 fields of this, I need 2 fields of that, and then someone else calls and says, well, why did you do that? Too many hands are in it.
Well, they were supposed to do it, and it was made it clear that nobody does that.
And I mean,
We'll give them what they need,
Well,
according to what we,
but again, it has to be done.
nobody can change that.
It has to be done ahead of schedule, so that, our rec department knows.
They have to
what we need.
understand how this is what we give them, and you
I
have to
know.
do it.
I know.
Either you use this or you don't have it.
We're gonna,
And I made it clear to Roy, Dwayne, and everybody else here. And I'm probably about this thing in Chelsea.
it seems that it's been done, kind of on a short notice situation. And to me, again, I agree with you. It's up to us to lay the fields out to what we need to do. And
We're going to have the fields ready for them to wait if they want it, they use it, don't use it.
But that's
They
why
don't
I
like it, they go somewhere
That's
else.
why I want them at the meetings, because they should be bringing to somebody at least a month ahead of time, not 2 weeks before.
No, they already have the British who play here. We give them the, what they
The problem is,
have.
the problem is that now we need 3 little fields, and they wanted the front field. So Dwayne and Wade have 3 fields.
It's what we gotta do, I'm gonna feel it.
But again, and you're missing the point. Until they tell us what they need, we can't give them what they want. I can't have it 2 weeks before they need it. I want to do something 6 months ahead of time or 3 months. I want them to come in with a plan, saying this is how many fields we're going to need. Then it's up to us to lay it out.
Okay,
And that's what I'm saying.
And they have to do that. If they don't do that, they're not gonna get the
Well,
plan.
they haven't been doing it,
So
so
then they won't play.
we're going to make that part of it, so that they have to do it.
If not, they're not gonna play.
Right. So, and
They
again,
lose the opportunity.
the only way we can do that is to force them to come to the meetings.
So whether they do or don't, it's on them. They know that these are the rules they have to play by.
Yeah. So that was one issue we had. Amanda's field, we started working on the baseball fields. We're realigning some of the fencing and some of the fields out there, so we'll have corridors in between each field for access to lights, as well as to help with drainage. I've met with Paul, Dwayne, Roy, Chris, and everybody out there. We're all on the same page. Almost all the equipment, or the fencing and items that are out there, we can utilize is not going to really be a big thing as far as reordering any fencing. It's just taking the post out, relocating the post and the fence. So I think it's going to enhance the way it is out there. And this comes up again where I would like to see something done with by our committee that I really appreciate sports coming in and offering and donating money and equipment and doing those things. It doesn't get put up to their specs and to their location. It has to be put to ours. And that's what happened with baseball. There's too many hands in the soup out there. And basically, it wasn't done the way it should be done.
That's why I'm at a point, not so, then,
So, you know, the only way you can correct that is, again, if they want to buy the equipment, it has to be approved by the advisory board.
Yes.
It has to be scheduled and make sure that everything meets the requirements and the locations that we want, not what they want. So it's going to be a little bit different than what they're used to right now. But I think it's the only way. We have to fix it, we have to maintain it, so it should be done to our specs and regulations.
I don't mean to interrupt you, again, that was, pretty clear to you all anyway, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
No, again, I'm talking, you know, in years past.
Right, because the more mistakes that were made.
Again, there's nothing in writing about that, and I think we should have it clear so there's no questions that that's the way it has to be. Seems to be a major problem. Let's see, one thing we're coming up with for this year, I had an idea and talked to Shauna from Party Painters about putting together a Miss Upper Township and a Junior Miss Upper Township pageant for the spring that would qualify them for Miss Cape County. We're one of the few municipalities in the township that don't have one. So there's a lot of kids that are really interested in jumping into it. It's something at a nominal cost to the township. We just have to get some sponsors for some scholarship fees and supply the venue for the pageant. So it's something that we're going to get some subcommittees on and determine what we want to do, when we want to do it, and what it's going to take. So I've had 2 meetings with Sean on this already, so it looks like we're moving forward in the right area with it, but I want to have all the particulars in place before I really bring it to the committee. Been a lot of requests for me to organize an Oktoberfest towards the end of October with live music at Amanda's Field again. I wanted to get the committee's feelings on that before I pursue it, because it's quite an undertaking to put it all together. But it'd be similar to 4th of July without the fireworks and probably without as many things for the kids to do.
Wasn't, alcohol ready, wasn't, have something like that already?
They have the car show and then they have,
I thought-
Well, they have the Apple Fest.
the Apple Fest, yeah. Yeah, they would like to do a concert. So if the committee is, yes,
Well, we deal with the township on it, so we want to do that.
we're going to try to cover it just like I did with 4th of July with all sponsorship fees. I already have a band donated, 2 bands donating their time. If we do
As
it.
long as you have enough time, and the only thing you might want to look at is the scheduling, because they have those block parties and things in Ocean City. If you're looking for a turnout, that would be difficult if you're doing it at the same time.
Again, that's why I'm asking to get a consensus to the board before I move forward on this. Yeah, I don't want to put the work into it if I don't think it's an idea.
What, do you know the date of the car show?
I don't have them.
October 11th.
Is it the 11th?
What's the date of the trick or treat?
31st.
21st, right?
Trunk or treat?
Would you like to go together? Jay, would you be interested in doing the same day?
It's a Tuesday night, we're doing.
Oh, that's right, all right.
You're not gonna want Tuesday night.
That won't work. Yeah, if you're so inclined, I'll go ahead and I'll continue to work on it and see what we can get together between now and the next meeting.
That's fine.
All right. Football had the pep rally Friday night. I got a chance to go out to it. The place was packed. The entire parking lot was full. There was cars parked on Stagecoach Road, and from what I saw, it was a great function. All the kids had a blast. They had games out there for the kids. The coaches and all the parents were involved. So there's probably 500-600 people out there at least, maybe more. So that was a great success. And they also had their opening game on October the 13th, September the 13th. It's a Saturday, there's 4 games. First game beginning at 2 o'clock. That will be in honor of all emergency service personnel, fire, rescue, police, veterans, anybody in the township they want to have there at a certain point, bring them out in the field. and
Well, yeah, I received an email today about that, and they were asking everyone, if whoever's available in the township committee, to come at 2 o'clock, is what.
And possibly a couple of us speak, and take care of that. And the only other thing I had is Paul was, we get the bids out on the lights.
They're out. Their bids are due on the 16th,
Okay.
next week.
Okay.
And I think we already have several bidders have the packages out.
Fantastic. I took enough time.
Mr. and Sarah.
I have a couple of things. Last meeting, we talked about some land and whatever else has the township has and trying to implement them to raise some cash. Talking to Paul and Dan, don't know if we have several of them, and it's not probably feasible for us to do that. However, there are 3 or 4 properties that we can and should put up for sale. 2 being the largest right here that we have. One is Town Hall, Old Town Hall, we can get rid of that. And there's a lot on 610 Densville Road that we can sell that to. I think we should move forward with that. We have a bond coming up and we have to pay for it. There's lights that we can, at the fields, there's light coming up and we can use the money. Rather than just start sitting here, we should just look at it. Like to put that as the next agenda to have it appraised.
Well, it depends upon how you're doing it. You could have it appraised to set a minimum figure. I don't, what is the zoning on these parcels?
The one out on Webster's Resort Residential.
Oh, that's
one in Tuckahoe,
okay.
Tuckahoe Village.
Are they the lots we talked about previously?
Yes.
Okay.
And then, Old Town Hall is in the Tuckahoe Village zone, and then the one out on 610, I believe, is in the either conservation or mining zone. I think it might be in the mining zone.
We could potentially raise $1 million.
What you may want to do, instead of getting an appraisal, get a market analysis. They would have to be sold at public auction.
How much?
The concern, obviously,
You can't set a minimum bid?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I said you want to set a minimum bid, and you want to discuss the use, obviously, if there's another house in Strathmere that's generally not, it's probably a positive tax rateable as opposed to a negative tax rateable, in addition to the income you would get. And also, I don't know what the mining or the other, unless it would be used, be of value to someone in the area.
I mean, there's two adjacent uses to it. On the one side, in the Woodbine side, there is the bowling alley, and then on the other side there's a proposed mining operation on that property.
But you could start with a market analysis, just ask someone to think, you go out and you can get those just to start, to get a feel for what might be. You could ask the purchasing department to talk to some local brokers, see if they would submit a market analysis at no cost. They do, a lot of times they do it at no cost. It's not an appraisal, you couldn't use it to sell the property, but it might give you an idea of where to go before you formally pull the trigger, just to get the values on it.
I mean, we did have an appraisal done on Old Township Hall, and, because somebody at the time was interested in it, but, I think that appraised at a very high value that really, I don't know, the appraisal really didn't match the market conditions at the time.
Well, that's why we should be working out.
And that's is that the property we're talking about? Because I didn't hear that correctly. We're talking about the Old Township Hall?
The Old Township Hall.
Okay, because the Old Township Hall obviously is on a parcel that would probably have to either be subdivided or condominium, made into a condominium. And we do have an appraisal on that, but it's old. I can't remember what year. Obviously, the market's changed since then. So
There's no point sitting in this thing, it's just, they need money, that's what it's money. It's the way it is.
I think the difficulty was there was no interested purchasers the last time we tried to do it.
Yeah, we should, we'd rather feel and see what we want.
Right.
Exactly.
So 3 out of the 4 lots will be movable?
Well, it's
So
just-
there's the 2 in Strathmere
The
available.
Township Hall, they could convert that to a house if they want. South of the village.
Yeah, you could convert it to a house. You couldn't demolish the building, obviously, because that would, it's in the Pinelands area, so it would require since it's a structure over 50 years old, it'd require special Pinelands approval to really have anything majorly done with it.
Will probably have to be commercialized. The reason we're using this to build.
But you can stipulate the use. You could actually put that as a condition.
But we have to be careful.
But obviously that
because
affects your value.
One of the issues we ran in the past with trying, like, because we did have some people interested in the building and looking at it, it's not up to code, and so some major improvements would have to be, or we'd have to work around how to do things.
Somebody
So
wants to work at it, wants to buy it, or no, they know what you're gonna do. You can buy it as it is, and do whatever you want with it. But to have it sitting there and for us to insure it, so on the main to it, no rental coming in, it just,
My only concern, if we develop residential lots, is
there's a.
looking at the comparison between what we're gonna bring in
Yeah.
and what the potential tax ramifications are to the school. It might be something where we make money for 2 years, but it's gonna cost us
That's why
a couple $100,000
There's
or
lots of
the
these
law.
that there, and the likelihood that you're gonna have kids there.
I think Strathmere is a different entity
Well, that's
because
what there's still there
but
that,
anything over on the mainland,
there's nothing we can use there.
you know, I think
There's one lot,
yeah, 2 kids is gonna be 30,000 a year minimum.
there's only one lot that we probably have to look at it, not yet. What's going on, it's not, then it's a conflict, we can't talk about that now.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, when we do it, we need to look at, you know, the long-term ramifications
I
of
have
it,
done that.
you know.
There's only 2 lots, and then it's that,
Yeah.
town hall, which is commercial.
Well, no, tuck over, that area, you can have residential or commercial.
Okay, well, we can make it.
You could put a condition on it that says, I'll sell it to you with the restriction that it can't be used residential. You could do that. Then obviously that reduces the potential purchase, so you're reducing your market.
We can also for the adjacent properties to existing homes that are undersized lots and trying to split them down the middle and get them on the other properties.
well, and no, they're not going to have the value, but
But
they're not going to have the value that 2 lots and buildable lots in Strathmore.
The transaction cost would probably eat up the value you would get from between title insurance and all that other stuff.
But I mean, at least you get them on the tax record.
I mean, it's a great idea. We also
Good.
get buyers, though, to buy the lots, so, you know, and there are some people that have been trying to sell lots over there for a while, so, you know, I mean, anything, I think it's a great idea.
I'm referring to Strathmore, I'm referring to the undersized lots around
they
here.
aren't the name that we can actually sell them. If they are, we can't, because of what we're gonna have. The only feasible ones are the 2 staff, we have Old Town Hall and one against the, that, but that could go to the money company or the, project trustee. They probably use that parking lot or whatever. Yeah. But these are 4 properties that we don't need to have, we'll bring in some money, and we should be good.
If it balances it out, I have no problem with it.
The book course, about 3 years ago, I was at a conference, a DOT conference at the county. The whole project was approved back then, 2 years ago. I don't know why it's still sitting here and nothing's been done about it. We have to.
Well, Paul did respond that he
You're talking about
Dale
Foster?
Foster.
I believe I sent the committee an update on that based on the information from Dale Foster, that Upper Township, we received the permit application, I think it was last week, late last week, or regarding they submitted for the DEP permits, and he's looking at, you know, separating the project into 2 projects. One part of the project that he could advance that does not need the environmental permitting, and then, keep the second phase for the other part of the environmental permitting.
We gotta start talking, because it's been over 2 years that the whole thing was approved and the money was everything for it.
Well, no, it was never approved. They had received funding for it, but they had never gotten all of the approvals for it.
The difference on funding was approved for, yes.
But they did not have the permits for it. And they can't construct the project without the necessary permits.
People on the street that are complaining, it is bad. I'll get this in for now.
Okay.
And Martoni, I do have a question. Something I've noticed the last couple of weeks especially is on trash pickup days. I see 1 or 2 trash trucks, rear loaders, with 1 person going down Route 50, getting out of the truck, pulling the trash cans around, loading them in the truck, getting back in the truck. Is that something that They should be doing it, that was the reason we,
That will be something that will happen once we get the other truck.
well, why is it happening now?
Maybe it was short-handed that day.
It's-
We will now, I don't know.
I've seen them almost every week, and, you know, we said we couldn't do it with one person.
We tried, I asked Roy to implement that. I wanted to try it for a day or two, and he called me and said, it's not working out, I need two guys to back the truck and driver.
Well, I think one guy could do it, because they're only picking up, you know, 100 stops a day or whatever. There's one guy on the back and a driver, but to have a driver stop on Route 50, climb out of the cab,
Like I said, we might be short-handed that day, I don't know.
well, it's been pretty much every week. And I
Because he was the one.
see a major liability issue.
He was
That
that
guy
guy
getting
getting
out
that
on the
that,
street.
two guys are running off, we need three guys to do it fast.
Well, I know Pete, you know, I won't mention names, I won't, but is on that truck all the time by himself.
Well, we can do it.
And I just think it's liability-wise, I don't know that Jiff, I mean, the whole reason we went to the one-armed bandits is because we said we couldn't have anybody on the back of the truck or getting in and out. We couldn't do it with one person, but on the back, but now we're doing it with one
Well,
person in
as
the
I said, he
cab.
complained about not having three people on it, now he's having one guy on it.
Now we have nobody on the back.
He's only trying to do it, but.
I think it's just, when the guy's picking up 100 stops a day, I think it just is wasted time. And liability-wise, like I said, I watched cars whip around him the other day on Route 50, and I'm thinking, my God, somebody's gonna get taken out. And I think it's bad practice to have a driver get out of the truck and walk around the truck, empty a can, and walk around the truck and get back in again.
I'll find out and I'll get back to him.
So, I just didn't understand the reasoning for it. So,
Okay.
that was all.
Mr. Barr,
Okay, we made some changes to our court procedures here. We privatized security, and KD National Force Security took over the security in our court as of last Wednesday. KD pretty much employs retired state police officers, so everybody that works for them is trained and certified. They provide security to the court, to the judge, and they also operate our metal detector system. So anybody that comes to our court from now on will have to come to a metal detector before coming into the court. As we spoke earlier at many of our meetings, we got accolades from the Administrative Office of Courts for our, the way that we secure our court. And the last thing we had to take care of was the metal detector. So we have that implemented now, and that will be done. And then one other thing, I'd like to make a motion. I know that we made arrangements for a chassis for an ambulance in our, for our budget. And I would like to move forward and direct Paul to put together some bid specs for that chassis. If everybody else here agrees.
You said it was over.
It's in the bond. Yes.
okay, second. Any other discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Pillar?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
That's it, sir.
Okay. I'm not sure if we have addressed this yet, but I did have a discussion with the sheriff, and already they budgeted 4 of the officers for next year's July 4th celebration. But he also indicated to me that I think Wildwood and several other towns have a memorandum of understanding with the sheriff's department. And what he's offering to us is if we have, some sort of event where someone needs some security or we need some extra security beyond maybe what the state troopers are able to accommodate us with, they have a memorandum of understanding with the towns where they have a set rate of $60 an hour for security, and it could be for 2 hours or it could be for 4 hours, whatever we need. So I would think, even though I'm not advocating right now to go out and just bring people in, I think we should develop the memorandum of understanding and have it with the sheriff's department. In the event we have something like that, we can reach out and have that. He already said that 4 officers are budgeted for July 4th, but if we need more than 4, based on the amount of population that's there, then, it would be our responsibility for some additional people beyond the 4. So, or again, for any other activity, maybe even this Oktoberfest or whatever, where we feel that we need somebody to help with traffic security. I think he said $60. 65.
Perhaps the clerk's office could get a copy of that prototype, and we could take a look at it. And obviously, if it's just pay-as-you-go, we can adopt it, enter into it, and have it as a standby.
Yeah, we're probably meeting for about 3 hours.
Yeah, but I'd like to see us put that in place so that we have it set to go if something should arise. And then the other thing is, I don't know if everyone has seen, there was an editorial and there's been some discussion. I received a couple emails. Some folks in Strathmere are advocating beach tags. It's something that we have looked at in the past. We have done counts. The issue is, by the time we have support staff to make sure that people actually have purchased the beach tags and beach tag collectors or whatever, I'm not sure if it's really going to realize some real dollars, but it's certainly worthwhile sitting down and talking about it, and maybe even out of that discussion come up with some other ideas if we find that beach tags may not be the answer.
Well, I mentioned that when I first got on the committee, I believe that something like beach tags.
Well, we have been doing counts, but the problem with the counts is that there are a number of folks that are there weekend after weekend, so they would buy one ticket, right? And the issue is there are obviously our sister towns of Sea Isle and Ocean City generate a lot of funding from it, but they have a huge turnover. They have a lot of people that are transient, and so there's a greater opportunity, and they have day traffic, so there's a greater opportunity to sell tags. But I think in lieu of some of our financial situations, I think, we can look at beach tags, we can look at some other opportunities for generating some funds. And some of this is really based upon, there is a discussion that's ongoing where Sea Isle, I believe, is considering not allowing parking on Ocean Drive on the Well Beach section between Sea Isle and Strathmere. Now, traditionally, that's been a non-feed beach, and any weekend you go past there are cars lined up from end to end. If they impose a no parking area there, there's concern that it's going to move north into Strathmere potentially. My concern more than anything is I'm not sure how we can police the Whale Beach portion of the area that's in Upper Townships section. So there's a number of this, so there'll be some parallel discussions. But anyway, what I'd like to do is put together like maybe 6 people to have just a discussion about it, and then from there set up a date for open workshop maybe prior to one of our meetings where all of us can have impact. But I'd like to get together with maybe a couple folks from Strathmere. I certainly would like a couple volunteers from Upper Township, and then I was going to ask John to join me in this from a revenue standpoint. You're in charge of revenue and finance, and maybe we can look at and come through those ideas. But I certainly want impact of the total committee. But I thought if we could get 6 or 7 people together and just kind of go over some ideas, maybe a parking permit or something, that might generate the funds that would be more of a realization than, say, beach tags.
One of the things that I should mention to you in recent discussions with the DEP on other matters, they have purchased a lot of land on the west side of Commonwealth, and one of the purposes they stated when they purchased it, and they reiterated it recently, is perhaps there could be some kind of municipal effort to put parking in that Whale Beach area. So that there might be land over there that you could, without a major expenditure of funds, create parking.
I think that would be the way to go. If paid parking, you only have to have one attendant.
But that changes the character of Whale Beach, and that's something your committee would look at.
Right. Well, and that's why I want to sit
Safely,
down
frankly.
and talk about all those kind of issues.
Well, I believe that some of modern Strathmere residents were for the beach tags for one reason, that you eliminated a lot of the traffic.
Well,
And
but,
pay for it, you're not gonna get a lot of people to go there and block and,
but my concern also is that Strathmere is a section of Upper Township, and that we want the input of the mainland individuals as well. And we are supporting, beach replenishment programs over there, and doing some other projects on Bayview, and doing a new boat ramp. So, one of the things I think that has been looked at in the past is beach tags, or non-beach tags, a free beach was looked at as part of our recreational program. And so that those individuals that weren't involved with sporting activities, meaning a lot of, folks like my age and other, go over there and enjoy the beach, and instead of taking advantage of fields and everything else we do. So, and I'm not saying that I'm opposed, or I'm open to any suggestion to try and generate some funds that is reasonable for the residents of Upper Town. I'm saying Upper Township as a whole, and we can work it from there.
I believe based on what I researched back then, there could be some money back in.
And I'm not saying you can't make money, I'm just saying, is like, where would be the level we'd be comfortable with? I mean,
Well, it may not be a problem.
Right.
One thing I'm looking at is that if it's costing us $500,000 now to maintain that, having a beach tax would bring that down to $450,000, it's a gain. Even if it was down to $400,000.
Yeah.
The thing is, we're still gonna have.
we still need to hire people you're not gonna get anybody compliant, you don't have people walking around to see if you actually bought the tickets.
All that situation, that would be, someone can be,
Right, it's not just the sale of the beach tags, it's showing the compliancy by having people you have to hire. And that's where I'm not sure exactly where it is. But we could try it for a year if we're willing.
use lifeguards, that's true, of course.
Well, we can't use lifeguards because they need to keep their eyes on the water or the people. So,
And then you do have a state park right adjacent to it.
Exactly,
So
it's state
you can't force them to have the beach tag on the state park. They're gonna gravitate down like they do at Ocean City in the south end.
All they need, nothing to know, for sure.
right now, there's no beach for them to gravitate to,
And
but.
they show that money can be made. It may not be $1 million like Sea Isle or whatever those things don't, and somewhat can be made. If it reduces the cost of Venus Lord, why not?
Yeah, it's worth looking at, but
And it would reduce the cost on us, it would reduce the money that Slightly is going through, part and all that, why not?
yeah, we just have to look again. I've been doing a lot of work down in Strathmere this summer. And I know it's the street that I was working on, it was pretty much the same people every day. So,
But
again,
you also have, you
determined it might not be enough to
people
warrant.
down there that are also patrons to some of our businesses down there too, so. I mean, and one thing that does concern me about the whole beach tag thing too is people want to use it as a deterrent. If we have beach tags, we charge people to come to our beaches, maybe they won't come. But at the other end, when you look at people that
They go to the city, they go to the
spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to pump sand onto the beach, and that's all coming from everybody's tax dollars.
Right.
And they should have the right to go to the beach too.
Well, I agree, but everybody should have.
We've always raised the flag around here that,
Nobody should have beach tags.
we have a free beach.
Right, nobody should have beach tags then.
We can't have our cake and eat it
Well,
at the same time.
And that's why, rather than start trying to make this settled here, I'd like to set up a committee, and there are two individuals from Strathmere that have already put their names in, Randy Roche and Ed Teddimer, and we have two, if John and I represent the committee, at least for a preliminary meeting before we bring it to the full committee. And then what I'd asked is that we make it known that we're looking for a couple other, volunteers that may have interest in doing it.
Have a go in.
Well, I think I'd bring Captain Hanley in as, like a subject matter expert, because they're the ones that are doing the counts. Like, he's a resident of Upper Township, so I guess he could have a dual purpose here. He lives over in the Tuckahoe section, because I was looking for a couple people on the mainland, but I think I'd rather keep Bill as being a part of this, but, have a couple other folks involved too. So, and I have a couple individuals in mind. There are several residents of Upper that I see on a weekly basis in Strathmere, that go over to use the beach, and maybe they would put some input in it as well, so. So what we'll do is we'll determine that, and we'll set a date by the next meeting, just to have a committee meeting, and then we'll have that discussion probably sometime in October, one of the meetings in October, kind of have a workshop before we have the committee meeting like we do for a workshop for a budget, where we'll, set aside some of the ideas that came up. I mean, there's some interesting ideas. There were some ideas of putting, somehow putting wooden lockers where people would rent them for $500 for the season and put chair,
That's all.
I think beach tags might be the focus, but I think we should look at other areas of general.
But it's in the parking meters along Commonwealth and down the sidewalks.
Well, I think for everyone and I'm not speaking for the people of Strathmore, but my understanding is for everyone that would like to see beach tags to reduce the traffic, they don't want meters either, so.
That's a lot less impact on us as far as hiring people. You let that 2 people go down there and monitor it and somebody correct the one.
Well, here's, you can put meters, but you're gonna have a problem with the county road, and I think you're also gonna have historically a problem with the Strathmere residents.
I mean, there's been,
You're taking away part too.
Well, and if we were you in charge of them, yeah.
let me just put it, and that, right, and all those things to be considered, but let me just say from a personal standpoint, I don't think it's any secret that I'm there every weekend, Saturday and Sunday at a minimum. And I can only say there were 2 times throughout the summer where the parking was extremely difficult, where I was more than a block away from where I would normally go to the beach. So I'm not saying that there's not a traffic problem there, parking problem, but I don't think it's as bad as what is being pointed out to be.
Yes. And granted, it's 3 months out of the year,
Right.
and we are a tourist area.
So.
As I say, one thing, that's so much.
Well, and that's why we're not going to solve it with one strike of the pen to go. So that's why we'll have this little, and we'll work on it, because we have plenty of time if we get started. And that's something, what I wanted to do is give us at least some idea as we go into the next budget season as to, what we might be doing from a line item standpoint, so.
Yeah, I see that there's been a lot of good suggestions, and I think maybe with an aggregate of these ideas, Dan, you talked about the land for the parking lot. We were talking a little bit about meters. We were talking a little bit about beach fees, possibly rental kiosks. Somewhere in the middle of this is a way we can make this work. There may be certain areas that we can meter. In order to satisfy some of the residents, we may be in a position where we would be able to issue resident parking permits. There's a lot of ways to look at this, and I think, like you say, a committee is the right way to do it, and look at all the opportunities.
But the main thing too, though, John, and everybody has to keep in mind, is the enforcement. If you're going to come up with regulations, you have to have the enforcement mechanism.
True. But all of us have to be experienced.
So, look at that.
Well, that's all I have, and like I said, we'll keep the committee informed as to when the date will be, but I'm thinking in the next couple of weeks, once we figure out, who's going to be available, we'll set aside just maybe an hour or two, what's convenient for everyone, and then from there, we'll schedule a workshop. I'm thinking maybe the second meeting in October might be, because we have a lot going on, it sounds like already well, actually, you can't have a workshop if we're going to have a little parade or whatever is being worked on for the first meeting. So, let's keep that kind of pendant for the second meeting in October. All right, so that's all I have, and so I would ask, Barbara, if you take over for the resolutions, please.
Okay, item number 1, in observance of September 11, as always remember day, to honor the innocent victims of September 11, 2001, and those who continue to fight for the freedom of this great nation.
Move the resolution. Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Poggins?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 2, congratulating Kevin Gill, member of the Upper Township Beach Patrol, for his outstanding win in the South Jersey Lifeguard Championships.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Poggins?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 3, appointing Water's Edge Environmental as an environmental consultant for the improvements associated with the replacement of the Bayview Avenue boat ramp.
Move the resolution.
Second.
And this is the discussion we had at the last meeting, so would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 4, authorizing the award of a contract with True Green LP for recreation field maintenance.
Resolution.
One question.
I'll second it for discussion.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The contractor, have we really looked at having one of our employees?
I have, I should been going to say that, but I have looked into that, and if there's somebody who's interested in taking classes, someone could go to that.
I thought this was just to buy the equipment, the chemicals and stuff that we need, and that's the reason why we're doing this. It exceeds,
This is,
No, this is, they apply it,
True Green applies it.
yes. I mean, what we were waiting for, Public Works was supposed to be doing an analysis to see what the, it's good to have somebody that can go out and do it, but you have to look at the total cost of, implementing a program, having the equipment, the storage facilities, buying the chemicals, and then what other potential insurance costs there are in running the program compared to the cost of having an outside vendor that, that doesn't have the liability exposure for the township. So Public Works was supposed to be looking at, preparing that financial analysis to see what the financial liability of that program was.
At this time, I guess we have to approve this, and then we have to...
Yeah, that was just a question.
Tom Gordy actually was interested in taking classes on this.
Yeah, no.
And so forth, yes.
To me, if we were going to use True Green or anybody else, it'd be nice to have somebody with a license in case we have a situation where we have to get out and take care of something. It doesn't warrant bringing another company in, just, I know Randy used to have it, or
Yeah, as I said, this time we have to try to approve this, and, look into the certification for the Tom Gordy, if we still interested.
okay. Is there any other discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Insera? Mr. Young?
yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 5, certification of costs for abatement of nuisance on Block 10, Lot 177.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera? Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 6, appointing the 2014 season beach patrol personnel.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Yeah, and this is just one individual that we had failed to put on the last thing, and this is somebody that has filled in after most of the lifeguard. It says Joe LaRosa Jr., but he's actually older than the Joe LaRosa that's one of our lieutenants, so it's his father. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 7, National Flood Insurance Program Community Rating System Annual Certification and Annual Progress Report.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay, would you call, and Paul, we had some of this discussion earlier. You want to add any more thing to
I
this?
just would want to note, we do notify all the residents yearly about different floodplain activities, because it's not just flooding, over on the barrier islands that we have to be concerned about. If you remember back in 2009, we had the groundwater inundation where, properties were flooded, basements, crawl spaces, and people was having to pump areas that they never had water before. So, floodplain management issues aren't just for the barrier islands. We have a lot of different areas in the township that have flooding issues, and there's just a lot of other services that, my office provides as far as people have questions for, sump pumps in their basements or grading around their house. If one neighbor's raised their property, and you can't change a drainage pattern, and now it's flowing onto their property, what can they do? So it just kind of outlines all the different things that we do. The other exhibit does talk about the annual report, and that kind of updates our hazard mitigation plan, so it kind of outlines all of the activities we do for hazard mitigation and some of the mitigation projects that we're looking at potentially trying to get funding for.
Okay. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 8, requesting the county to provide regular maintenance and repair of county roads in Upper Township.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 9, South Shore Stitchers request to hold a raffle number 432 at Tuckerton Methodist Church on November 9th, 2015, and they are applying in advance so they can advertise.
By the year of the event.
Yes.
Move the resolution.
Second. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 10, Beacon Animal Rescue request to hold a raffle number 433 at their facility at 701 Butter Road on December 20th, 2014.
Move to allow.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 11, Greater Tuckahoe Merchants Association request to hold a craft show at the Upper Township Community Center on November 22nd, 2014.
Move to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 12, Upper Township Lacrosse requests the use of Amanda's Field on July 18th and July 19th, 2015 for a lacrosse tournament.
Move to approve.
Second.
Before you vote, just to point out that the number of people are 2,000 per day, so we're obviously going to have to take a close look at what's needed with the emergency services and whatnot.
You know, they require to have that in to bar prior to.
Right.
Yes.
And Mike, sure, my understanding is the same thing he's done for the last 2 or 3 seasons.
I just wanted to make sure you're aware of you know, what we're doing. You have some new folks on the committee, that's all.
Call the roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Would someone like to make a motion to pay the bills?
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and then incorporated into the full minutes of this meeting.
Second. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
There are a number of reports from our municipal departments, construction code, clerk's office, animal control, tax collector, division of EMS, MUA report, Department of Public Works and Finance office. All of those reports will be available upon request tomorrow morning at the Township Clerk's office, but I'd like to make a motion to accept these reports.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Insera?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay, so that concludes our open session agenda, and now it's time to open it up to the public. If anyone would like to address the Township Committee, please do so. We'd ask that you state your name and your full address, and also keep topics pertinent to things that we're discussing today or in the future. That would be greatly appreciated. So would anyone like to address the Township Committee? It appears that there's no one at this time that would like to address the Township Committee, so we'll close the public comment portion of the meeting, and I'll turn to Mr. Coggins for a motion to go into executive session.
I hereby move that the resolution be incorporated into the minutes authorizing the Township to enter into an executive session for the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Contract negotiations for shared services with Egg Harbor Township for equipment washing, for telephone services, for drug and alcohol testing company, and for cell tower leasing. We also have some personnel matters to discuss. I also included in the motion the estimated time and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. It is anticipated that the matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. With respect to employment and personnel matters, such discussions will be made public if and when formal action is taken or when the individuals involved consent that it can be made public. With respect to contract negotiations, such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there is no longer a reason for confidentiality.
Okay, second. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Sarah?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you all for attending this evening. Hope you have a great night. And we'll have a next scheduled meeting,
22nd.
was it September 22nd?